All right, round three. Yes, I'm doing this almost like a marathon. I mean, it's been a while since I've done this, and I'm trying to get back into it, get more into it. So now I'm feeling motivated, basically. So, one key thing I want to say here. This video is not. I'm gonna discuss being my particular matters as a Cudoocadian. Living in America, and yeah, as you have, if you already don't know what a Cudoocadian is, I have a video titled "What is what is a Cudoocadian? What does Cudoocadian mean?" You know what I'm saying? Look, check that video out. It'll explain the big major gist of it all. Right, but now I'm just doing like down to the individual since I'm probably the only Cudoocadian. What I'm saying, I am the only Cudoocadian in existence who's claiming the title of a Cudoocadian and all that. So, as a Cudoocadian person living in America, one of the things to know, I don't really look to politics that much. As like I said, Cudoocadians being like part of the anarchist initiative, following branches of anarchism. So, it Cudoocadian being a Cudoocadian means I'm not really into politics. I don't see government as a necessity. I understand the importance of government in this country, as that's been something that's been built into society for a while now. The importance of government has been heavily integrated into the American culture, as well as any culture where government has been heavily built in. Some people still dealing with monarchs, which is in a form which is classified as a dictatorship now. But all that. So that's been heavily integrated throughout the years, and it's been integrated in the U.S. culture as well. So that's something I do. It does come to my attention basically. And my goal, I'm not really voting nobody. I mean, I've recognized, like one video, like I said, I've recognized an appeal, a similar. Well, in one video, I've recognized the similarities that the Cudoocadian values have to the Transhumanist Party's values, U.S. Transhumanist Party's values. So, which I would say I am in allyship with the U.S. Transhumanist Party, but I don't necessarily see the necessity in the U.S. Transhumanist Party pushing this mission, because, like I said, I'm an anarchist. I believe we could just do this down to the earth. So my goal here is really just to show how you can apply certain Cudoocadian values to your own life. Simply just whatever it is you need to learn about, like particularly like your basic needs. We understand that, okay, a water company and electric company, well, basic needs have changed with time, but we understand how electric company and gas company and water company supplies you with the very needs, with your daily uses in your own home. Simply learning how all that works is one step in taking a step into Cudoocadian way of living. Simply learning how it all works. How is this being supplied to your house? How do they produce it? How do they clean the water that you drink and wash yourself with? How do they clean wastewater? Once after, like water that's been used, how do they clean it out? Water that's been filtered with chemicals and all that. What's one way they clean all that stuff out of that water? Learning about that is simple. Like, yes, you don't even have to do it so long as you know how it is done. And the goal is, how do you now reimagine it as in how would you do it down on an individual level? Just think about that. How would you take all these big machinery that they got to make this possible for you and minimize it down to only how an individual could do that? One way how I'm trying to minimize water treatment is using buckets. Okay, obviously I need a filter. Using buckets and distilling pots. I got 3 buckets. One is for the untreated water. The other is for the treated water. So I don't put nothing in the treated water bucket until the water that's untreated has been treated. And another third bucket is really just for a filter, because you need a filter. to filter out all the heavy chunks and all that stuff that gets in there. But as for sediment, you got to be a little bit careful because sediment can still get minimized and seep through. So for sediment, you want to let water settle, and you suck the water out into an. You suck the water out and through the filter. Pump it into the filter. Let it filter through as the sediment has settled. And one better way to help sediment settle in water is by putting it in a refrigeration system, making it cold. You know, that you simply learn how a refrigeration system also helps. So I guess this video is going to be titled how to apply Cudoocadian values to your own life instead of what I was going to originally talk about. But what I was really going to talk about, which I am going to talk about here, is like the American system and all that. So I'm not big on concern about U.S. politics as much as I used to be, but how I go about U.S. politics myself as a Cudoocadian, as you know, that's an anarchist initiative. I go about it in a way where, okay, I need to see what policies are going to be applied into daily life, which will affect me. That is what I need to know. Okay, what do I need to look at? What is the benefits of this policy? What is the non-benefits of this policy? How do I maneuver? So maybe I have the ability to change it, but I don't align with any of these parties. You know what I'm saying? I don't align with them. Their mission is not my mission for this country. You know what I'm saying? My mission really down for myself at this point, but I hope, maybe people might want to adopt this mission for themselves, and do that for themselves, because I really see how this can really help a lot of people, So I just look at policies, see how they affect me, affect my daily life, and try to maneuver myself accordingly. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I'm more aligned with the U.S. Transhumanist Party and am registered with them as their party. But like I said, I'm a Cudoocadian. My goal is to see how I apply my way of living to my own life. You know what I'm saying? I understand that. I understand AI is becoming more prevalent in society, which is not being talked about on the main stage. But y'all, for a lot of you who don't know, the system in the U.S. is taking more of an automation route, because not a lot of people want to work. They don't like their jobs, and a lot of people are willing to not work, and a lot of people want to just get on the government system. This creates an incentive for immigrants. I see. This is something I notice. It creates incentive to bring more immigrants in who are willing to work. And this is where we get the little issues where the conservatives and with the immigration and all that, just allowing immigrants to come in, because like if you go through the regular system, it could take a long time for an immigrant to start working. You know what I'm saying? A lot of them have to go through under the table methods just to earn their green card, and even then they're not really supposed to be being hired by a U.S. job under the table, so they could be arrested. And this is how they can get manipulated and used and abused. So the Democrats kind of make it a little easier for them to get in here. It's just, all right, we'll give you this little tax ID, which people saying that immigrants aren't being taxed, but they are being taxed. The Democrats are not stupid. They need their money. Okay, they need their money too, and how they get that for their support is through these immigrants who are willing to donate to their campaigns to get them up there, and also contribute money to their governments by giving them this. It's a different type of taxable ID. Yes, and of course they need more benefits, more incentive for these immigrants to come and generate income for them. So they give them all this stuff like housing and all that, versus a regular U.S. citizen who is taking on the initiative of, we don't want to be doing all that work. And I can understand. I was born in the U.S. I understand we don't want to be doing all that work, but I think there's a little issue on the lines with understanding where to go instead of constantly, a lot of people don't think about the future. I know it's hard for me to say that, but something I've noticed is like not a lot of people are focused on their future. Like, you're gonna get old. You're not gonna be able to keep working a physical job. Shoot, your brain might even decline. And that's worst case scenario. And that's even worst case. That's worst case scenario, but it can happen to anybody. But for one thing we know for sure can go is which for sure goes as you get older, is your physical ability to be able to do things. This is something you want to think about. This is when you're maneuvering yourself in the work environment. You want to figure out, how do I make my living situation easier for me, as I'm not going to be continue to be able to do physical work. And this is the main focus. This is why we also support transhumanism. This is why I support transhumanism. Because to give people the ability to keep doing things somewhat, you know what I'm saying? Even without the physical capability of doing this. So use cybernetic route to keep doing stuff. Cybernetic helps, but you can also go the genetic route, keep enhancing yourself, but you may not want to keep doing that all the time. Genetics, playing wild gamble with genetics versus cybernetic. So that's the difference. But I noticed that's a lot of people, they don't think about the future, about where they're going. Like, when you do a job, you should see see ways of utilizing that income to help make your life easier. That way you're not always constantly working and working and working, dealing with a nagging boss and all that. A naggy boss, overly aggressive boss, boss, I'm above you, you ain't nothing. You know what I'm saying? That way you gotta constantly keep dealing with people like that. You put yourself in a position where you can feel safe to fall back on yourself, self-sustaining yourself, versus constantly worrying about, are you gonna be employed? Am I gonna be employed? You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. Stop worrying about. You don't want to have to keep worrying about that. Am I gonna be employed so I can keep supporting my life? No, your life should not be dependent on self-employment, and this is the one on employment. I mean, not I could say self-employment too, starting a business and all that will help out, but you're gonna get old. That's where the brain decline comes into play. Your decision making to keep a business functioning is not always gonna. It's not gonna always be there. So, you're gonna get old. Stress is gonna take a toll on your brain, because it always does. Stress takes a toll on your brain. I don't know if many people know that, but it does. It sure does. What you want to do is limit your stress in life. That should be another focus when you're working. Limit your stress. This should be your main focus. You don't want to keep putting yourself in a position of stress, because stress takes a toll and it ages you faster. The science does support that stress ages you faster. Because the stress on my nerves, when I was 22, I was told that my nerves were under. When I went to my chiropractor and got an exam done and all that on my body, my bones were. My nervous system was shifting the bones in my body, shifting my spine in particular, and making my body feel uneven. It's making my body feel uneven now, and because of all the stressful work I was doing at my job, it was putting stress on my body, making it shift my bones to the point where my back will shift my spine, to making the point where my back just felt constantly in pain, and my body always feels stress. And they said because of this, my body is like I had the body of a 24-year-old at the age of 22. So my body was aging faster than me, which means, and why was it aging faster than me? Because of stress. That's what it was. It was stress on the nervous system, causing them to tense up. My body, and I feel it. My body has muscle spasms. It tenses up. It shifts. It hurts. It hurts a lot. And it's because of stress. Stress is the main thing you want to lessen in your life, and I have been working to do that. It's helped a lot. Still hasn't gotten rid of the permanent stress that I'm gonna deal with for the rest of my life, but it's helped ease that stress. When I've started learning about how to do things on my own and all that, learning how to create my own power grid for myself, that I can get off the house's power grid. But I'm still alive in the house, but we'll get into that situation later. But mainly learning to sustain myself is the goal. And right now I'm trying to grow vegetables. But this is the U.S. system. I know it's a capitalist system. It's always requiring money from you, so you always got to work. But there's a way to shift that down to you. And that's my goal. And that's how I approach U.S. politics. I mean, I have some value. Now, when it comes to the Constitution, I do support some matters of the Constitution, not just because it's the Constitution. I support some matters like free speech. I support that in the matter on a psychological basis. I support free speech. You need to get what you are holding inside out of your system. You shouldn't be repressed. You shouldn't be holding that in, because holding it in creates stress. It creates buildup of emotions, which will make you lash out and do more drastic things than you would have done if you would have just spoke what was on your mind. And I've noticed that that's even true for me. When I hold my emotions in, they build up. I boil like a pot. And at some point, they do spill out, and I lash out at people. Keep my emotions in check. I get told, and it happens at work too. And I get told to keep my emotions in check, but that's what I've been doing. I've been stuffing them in a pot. Eventually, pots get full. Pots aren't infinite. You know what I'm saying? Get full, they spill over. Eventually, you have to confront what's going on inside of here. So, and you have to figure out the source of what's going on inside there. And there's a lot. So, and that's why I support free speech. Free speech. You have to speak out on that. Speak out what's bothering you. Let it out. There is some wild cards of free speech. Some people utilize free speech to hate on others. Hate on others because of their race. Hate on others because of what they have. I understand. And that's where the term hate speech comes from. It's from where, people want to use free speech as a means to hate. Okay. I don't mind that. But that person also has to figure out where the source of this anger is coming from. And this is where I push, as a Cudoocadian, I push for the mental health aspect on top of free speech, the mental health progression on top of your speech, what you're saying. Understand what you're saying, think about what you're saying, think about the emotions associated with what you're saying, think about the background of what you're saying is coming from. It's coming from, Think about all that gets into the mental, that gets into the health. Make sense of that. Understand that. Get it out of your system, obviously. Get it out. You want to say it, say it. But understand why you're saying it. Get into your emotions. Get into all that. I know people don't want to confront it. Some people don't want to confront the emotions. You're more logical. You don't want to confront you. But your emotions is there. They're an instinctual response to certain things. And you have them. And you have it in your system. That's something part of your human biology. You have to make sense of those things. Those things are there for a reason. And your body releases them whenever they want to release them. Everybody has different personalities. Could be by genetic. Could be genetic. Could be from upbringing. Apparently, from my personality type, I'm an ENTJ. I've been like that my whole life. Apparently, from what I remember, I've been like that my whole life. I don't know how. I mean, but from the signs of what makes an ENTJ person, I've noticed that throughout my whole life. So, I've been a thinker my whole life. I just maybe the brain wired. I had thinking. My thinking was over feeling always in my life. That's just how it was for me. But I know as understanding myself, taking responsibility myself. I know that's I have to understand that. And video's getting long because it's getting into the 20 mark, and I have to cut it off, unfortunately. But yeah, key thing: understand yourself. Understand yourself. Figure out how to maneuver yourself. Understand yourself to understand how to maneuver yourself in the work environment. That way, you're not always constantly just working just to be working. You're working towards something. Work towards something. That way, work feels less of a burden and more of a tool to get you somewhere. And boom. That'll definitely change the outlook on things. And get this, that's applying Cudoocadian missions and values onto yourself in the American system. That's something I'm trying to achieve here. I'm doing that for myself. It's working out pretty well. I've seen results. Hopes if someone starts doing that, hope you see results little by little. And that's one of the things here. Peace.